Okay, so this is conic sections day one, lesson one, where we're going to talk about completing the square as a reminder to what we've already done. Okay, so what we're going to find here is that in general, all of our conic sections are going to come in the form like this right here, and that's called standard form. And you'll notice that it has this feature where it's either a plus or it's a minus, and it could be either one. And depending on what it is, it's going to determine what shape it is. Now, a conic section is either an ellipse or a circle or a parabola, or the other one is a hyperbola. And I think before too long you'll understand why I'm putting ellipse and circle together, parabola by itself, and a hyperbola by itself. They're each kind of special cases of the other. So standard form looks like this. General form is when it's all been multiplied out. So one of the things we're going to do real quick here is review our completing the square, converting it from general form into standard form. Now, one of the things that I do is I just kind of rearrange things. You'll notice I've got this x squared and the 4x here, the y squared and the 6y came here, and I shoved the 3 to the other side of the equal sign. And now I'm going to just complete the square by figuring out what number goes in here. Now, perhaps you'll remember that in the completing the square process, we oftentimes referred this as the letter b, and then this over here was b over 2, or half of b squared. So when I take b and chop it in half, I get 2, and then square it, I get a 4. All right, and then over here, when I do the same thing, I'm going to add a 9. So what I've done in both of these spots is I've just added 13 to this side. So I'm going to put, well, this is actually I guess I'll back up and do it the way I originally intended, which was I put half of that squared and half of that squared. So I added 2 squared and 3 squared. And so then these three terms together here give me x plus 2 quantity squared. These two give me y plus 3 quantity squared. And then I've got the 4 and the 9. So my final is x plus 2 quantity squared plus y plus 3 quantity squared equals, I believe that's a 10. Now that's not quite standard form. You'll notice the standard form has a very important feature where this is equal to a 1. So in order to get that to happen, I'm going to have to divide everything by 10. And I get a final answer in standard form of x plus 2 quantity squared over 10 plus y plus 3 quantity squared over 10 equals 1. And I'm done. Woohoo! Now, as I move on to the next part down here, I've got another general form that I want to turn into the standard form. Or if I said that backwards, I apologize. So I'm going to start by putting the x's together, leaving some space, putting the y's stuff together, and then I'm going to move the 12 to the other side. Well, I want to complete the square. So the x values here, this is a problem. This number in front is a no-no. I can't have that. So I'm going to have to pull that out first. And then I've got this plus y squared minus 8y plus something, which I'll have to fill in. And I still equal to negative 12. So what number is going to go in here? I'm going to take half of 6, and I'm going to square it. So I'm going to take 3 squared. But remember that that is actually a 2 times 3 squared that I've just added on this left side. So I need to add that on the right side as well. Now over here in the green, I've actually taken half of negative 8 and squared it. So that's negative 4 squared, which is 16 that I just added on the left side. So I need to add that same 16. I'll write it like this. Add the same 16 to the right side. That keeps everything balanced. So now I've got 2 times x plus 3 quantity squared plus y plus negative 4 quantity squared equals negative 12 plus 18 plus 16. So that gives me, I think, 22. And I've got all this junk over here. So now I need to divide everything by the 22 to get the 1 all by itself. Oops, 22. And I finally end up with x plus 3 squared over 11. Where did the 11 come from, Mr. Hampton? Well, this 2 and the 22 here cancel, and it'll become a 1 and 11. And then I've got y plus negative 4 squared over 22 equals 1. There we go. All right, moving on to this next one. I'm going to go a little faster this time. So I'm pulling the 3x squared plus 24x, the 2y squared plus 16y, shove the 8 over to the other side. Factor. Now I got to complete the square. In here, I take half of 8, which is 4, and square it. But that's actually a 3 times 4 squared. And over here, I got to do the same thing. 8 divided by 2 is 4 squared, but that's really a 2 times 4 squared. So this is going to become 3 times the quantity x plus 4 plus 2 times the quantity y plus 4 equals 8 plus, let's see, I think that's 48, and that should be 32. So this is actually 56, 88, I believe. Now I got to divide everything by 88. Still trying to get that into a 1. So the right side is a 1. This is going to become y plus 4 quantity squared over 44. This, okay, I got to show you a great trick. 88 and 3 don't really cancel that great. So watch this action. Ooh, 88 over 3. So I move the 3 to the bottom and it drops to the very bottom of the fraction. Okay, last one, I think. I'm going to go faster still. I'm going to put 2 steps in one. All right, right here, this is going to be really tricky. Not really tricky. Really something I got to be careful of. I'm going to pull out a negative 6 so that I get a negative 6 x squared plus 3x. Make sure that when you distribute it back through that it still comes back out to what you expected. Okay, so for the 5, y squared plus 2y, I've got this thing I got to figure out. Let's see, so that's going to be half of 2 or 1 squared. So plus 5 times 1 squared. And then here I'm going to take half of 3 and square it. Since I'm so lazy, I'm not actually going to figure that out right now. I'm just going to add that same thing over here, except it's a negative 6 times that. So I've got, let's see, here we go, 5, and then that's going to become y plus 1 squared, minus 6 times x plus 3 halves squared. See, just incredibly lazy. And then over here I've got 12 plus 5 minus 6 times 9 fourths, 54 fourths, whatever that is, which is 7 halves. So I've got all this stuff here. It's getting kind of messy. Now I got to divide everything by 7 halves. Every single thing by 7 halves. And my final answer, and I want you to really stop and think about this, where I got 7/10 from, and then over here where I've got 7/12 from, and equals 1, because that's my final answer. So rewind that.